Hey guys, just want to walk through where your buyer's agency is going. So I think this is a key one. Again, I'm speaking to a lot of clients, and I've identified three main stages when it comes to investment BAs and sort of where they're at and where they want to go. And I thought it'd just be useful to sort of break down these three phases or stages, and how it can be really important to unlock certain areas to then get to the next stage so you can keep progressing and avoid going sort of dormant or stuck in one sort of particular phase. So the first one I wanted to touch on is the foundation and activation phase. So usually between 0 to 100K per month. Like it says here, creating demand, validating the offer essentially, and making sure there's a level of trust for who you are as a person, as the buyer's agent, the buyer's agency itself, and then the actual product, service, and the team. It's all coming together. So in the activation phase, you've got the funnel itself. This is all very, very new. A lot of the time we don't have a lot of resources, proof of concept, reviews, case studies, testimonials, all the rest of it. So a lot of manual qualification. You as the BA yourself are probably jumping in there doing discovery calls and strategy calls and giving away the price, sort of left, right, and center as you're going through it. So it's really refining that and building out a repeatable process that's not as manual. From a sales standpoint, again, it's usually founder led, or you might be bringing in one hybrid closer. If you're at the up end of that phase, if you're confident you get at least sort of 3-4 deals a month, you might be looking to bring in a hybrid closer to sort of get you out of the trenches there. And they might be taking all the calls or some of the calls. Like you might still be taking some of the referral partners, and they're taking all the organic leads sort of coming through too. Started about build out proper scripts. So the discovery and strategical scripts getting a lot more refined. Selling it yourself versus how someone else sells it does vary. So going through with them, okay, what do we need to tweak and change? If they don't have a real estate license, the way they're going to talk about the services and stuff can be quite different. So building that out too. Going through objections. What do we offer? Townhouses, units, established homes, everything, or we're only offering certain sort of asset types too. So it has to be positioned in the pricing, and make sure, again, the hybrid closer sort of knows what's going on. So they're saying the right thing and not causing headaches. You can start to use things like webinars. Like a lot of time with some BAs I've worked at, their funnel is still pretty new and a little bit clunky, which is fine. But again, if they've got a good following, you can use like a webinar to build content. So it can be a really good way to start to establish your homework page. So as people going through the funnel, they're warmed up and sort of nurturing from the content you created. But also a really good lever to bring in some more sales quite quickly. Again, if your sales process isn't really tight, but you know a lot about the property space, that education piece can be a really good way to compress the decision time, build that trust, and get to know you and the business a little bit more. From a tech and ops standpoint, again, usually there's not a lot of automations. It's all very manual. So there can be a lot of human error, and CRM hygiene isn't great. You might even have a CRM too. Some of the BAs I've seen, they're sort of running off spreadsheets. And again, a lot of time you don't have a lot of core KPIs. So this is that first phase, 0 to 100K sort of activation phase. Once you block past this, so once you're getting sort of 5-6 deals a month consistently, you move into the next phase. So it's sort of systemizing all and building that proof. So everything we're touching on, but just sort of taking it to the next level. So pulling the founder out, so they're working on the business and not in the business as much, specifically from the sales and marketing side. So you should have a really tight homework page now. Again, content that people are consuming before speaking to the closer or hybrid closer. Things like surveys and proper application logic as well. So people have enough cash or equity to actually go through the sales process. If not, they're sort of being kicked out, so it's not getting messy. Stronger pre-frame before the calls too. So making sure they know who they're talking to. They might not be speaking to the owner, but they're speaking to an advisor or the closer. And they say there's a lot of value and pricing behind that time. It's not just like a sales call on the go. Starting to build out more lead sources too. So you might be a bit more strategic of where leads are coming through LinkedIn, YouTube, other channels, and what sort of nurture they need to sort of consume before jumping into the sales process. Building out the sales team now. So usually, again, going from founder to hybrid closer now, you're looking at that hybrid closer usually steps into a closer, and then you've got a setter below them to sort of support them too. And just what that looks like in terms of how the setter operates, managing inbound, outbound. DM sending can be more of a focus too. So you might have the setter sort of supporting more actively on the socials where you might have been doing that, or have a VA as well. So just a lot cleaner handoff in terms of who's doing what. It's sort of like that movie Moneyball. It's going very, very clear and precise who's doing what and what their actual goals and sort of what success looks like on a day-to-day basis. Webinars now, Q&A is really good levers, again, to help with the conversion rate. So if you've got new team members starting, they're not always going to do things 10 out of 10 straight away. So again, having that up your sleeve at the start or the end of the month can be a really good way to lift the lead to speed and conversion rate and how much you're making per lead coming through. And now your tech's starting to build out. So we're starting to see automation of the no-shows, cancellations, follow-ups. People have or haven't done the homework. Setting up scoring again. They might have watched 50% of the VSL versus none of the VSL, and starting to get some dashboards around it too. So it can become a lot more objective from a performance standpoint, make sure you've got the right team before we start to either get more content out there to get more leads or start to scale up the ad budget too. The last phase here is phase 3. So this is where a lot of BAs want to end up. Not saying people, you have to get to this level, or, some people might want to get, over $1 million run rate, but this just seems like it's quite a common goal for a lot of BAs to get to that sort of 25, 30 deals a month consistently. Small team, very, very high profit margin. It's not sort of too overwhelming to run. So what that's looking like is very predictable. Some things can still go wrong. Like you can still have seasonality throughout the year, or interest rate rises, and things can slow down at certain areas for different reasons, or marketing shifts, whatever it might be. But you're starting to know which levers to push and pull to make sure you're still getting the desired outcome. If you plan to get 25 sales, how many calls you have to have booked in, how many you have to sort of show up, the conversion rate. So you're really learning it a lot better. So it's not like one month you have a great month and a bad month, and then you can be a bit timid and scared and sort of conservative as to what to do month on month to get really strong quarters. So again, we've got multiple lead sources coming in. They're very refined. Still want to go through a centralized funnel. So again, it's sort of standardized for different sort of setters or closers coming into the team. All the content and proof of success and case studies is there. We know it works. We've sort of split tested and got all the right content in place to make sure it's working really, really well. You can have uplists on the calendars. So if you've got better setters or closers, you can sort of dictate who's taking which calls to, again, maximize how much revenue you're bringing in. So there's a lot more optimizing things rather than experimenting like you see in some of the earlier phases specific to your brand and offer. The team's usually starting to pick up here. So you'll be looking at 2 setters and 2 closers, or 2 setters and a closer, or a setter, closer, hybrid closer. Again, it depends on how much you're charging per deal and what that looks like. But the team's definitely starting to build out. A little bit more happening in terms of inbound, outbound qualification, DM setting. Again, it's just getting a lot more formalized, and trackers are in place to make sure it's really clean. And the closes are a lot more around just the closing. So completely move from the setting pipeline at this stage, and really make sure they're knocking that out of the park from a closing standpoint. You can start to groom people now into sales management. Again, now that they're getting this sort of exposure, seeing if you feel like, hey, one of the closers, you can tap on the shoulders, start to groom. So when you do hit the 500K months, you can sort of justify if you did want them to be a fully fledged sales manager, or have the capacity. So they might have 10 to 15 hours a week of starting again to that role. So they're still nailing the closing. You can see if they make it or break it there without putting much strain on the business. So that's what I usually do with businesses getting close to that sort of 500K run rate mark. They might already have a lead closer. I can start grooming them into that role. So if they do want to have a full-time sales manager as the business is sort of growing, I can sort of pass the baton, and that's when I might support them longer term, or just step away altogether because they've got everything they need to sort of run the business really well from a sales and marketing standpoint. Pricing too. So going through what that looks like. Obviously, if you get more deals in at a high price point, it's easier as well. So just making sure that's something that's sort of reviewed based on how quickly you're putting people into deals. If the wait list is building up, is it smarter to put the price up so we're not getting as many deals, and the turnaround time is still quite quick? So something we can sort of work through and make sure that's working. And then by now, if you are doing sort of webinars and Q&As, they're very sort of seasoned. So a lot of content to use in the nurture campaigns and what that looks like in the actual sales process itself. You can sort of strategically know, okay, these are the dates we're doing it. These are the topics we're running based on objections that are coming up in sales calls. And then from a tech and ops standpoint too, getting a little bit more advanced in terms of the workflows and the lead routing as well. In terms of, hey, do we do MMS? If they didn't do the survey, for example, does it trigger a call to make sure they're going to show up and they're prepared for a call? Looking at, again, more refined dashboards on individual reps rather than overviews of just sort of departments there, how that might tie into marketing spend if that's a factor too. And then again, just sort of getting to that point where things are really tight in terms of people taking off leave or working certain days and not other days too, but it should just be very well flowing, I guess, from like a sales leadership standpoint, where you as the founder can just look over it and not feel like it's going to be crazy and things are breaking overnight anymore. It should just be very well established and sort of flowing well, and sort of confident that you can hold it at this point and it's not going to drop back down into the other phase of sort of sub 250K. So as we're looking at, those are three different phases, and just for you to think about, where's your buyer's agency going? Are you in one of these phases? Are you sort of caught in between two? Are you wanting to push past it? A lot of time people don't step back because they're in the trenches of the BA of sales and marketing, to have this point of reflection. So hopefully that helps assess, where you're at. Which part of it do you need help with? Is it sales, pricing, webinars, tech? I know there's lots of different parts of the funnel. But then that's the kind of stuff I can go through as an agenda to break down so we can push forward and get you to where you want to be with your business and be confident you can hold it there. Cheers.